Hello, y'all. Welcome back to Life Study Library. This is your host, Lye Yosh. I'm so sorry I was away for so long. It's been unnecessarily busy for me. But yeah, in this video, we'll be talking about types of men that you will regret dating 99% of the time. In this channel, you can learn about these helpful and interesting tips and information on various things in your life as I introduce these tips using scientific and psychological studies and data. There are many more other videos in my channel talking about things like activities you can do right now to improve your creativity, or the only type of people who benefit from self-help, and people who will be harmed from it, and other random things like ideal jobs for people who are anxious, and many more. So you should check these videos out too by subscribing to Life Study Library. But for this particular video, let's talk science about what kind of men you should avoid when you're dating. There are actually multiple characteristics of these toxic men, so I'll be ranking them as I talk. I think it's a common knowledge that you would like to surround yourselves with other people who will affect us positively, and we'd never want to hang out with those who bullies us or those who bring any other negativities in our finite lives. But unfortunately, we humans are oh so controlled by emotions, as we can recall so many times when we made a bad decision because we weren't thinking straight. And this issue is especially prevalent in the field of romance, as it is scientifically proven that when we are in love, our ability to make decisions degrade to that of a chimpanzee, which will result in you regretting your decision and kicking yourself after why you did something that you would never do had you been calm like you normally are. It is no joke when people say that love is blind, right? And because we get so blind, we become incapable of suspecting if that person who you're going to ask out or who you're dating right now is actually a person with a very toxic personality, the type of people who you want to avoid at all cost and would never want to become associated with it, much as become a couple. So to help you with this issue, today's study lists 5 different personality types that you should avoid when trying to find a partner. So yeah, like I said before, we get so stupid when we are in love, so much so that we become incapable of calmly thinking about stuff that are 20 minutes in the future. So what we should do to prevent a tragedy from happening because of this occurrence is to know how to distinguish a person, someone who you want to date and become together and be, a long-term couple with, and also be able to tell if it's okay for you to date them. Today's study is from 2004, done by University of Waikato, which collected 37 prison inmates. These prison inmates were all men who were thrown in jail because they all have committed sexual abuse towards women. And the researchers performed this study by interviewing these inmates in order to kind of get like a ballpark figure of what kind of psychological ideas they had towards relationships. The researchers were then able to categorize some key characteristics about men's personalities that might make them more violent against their partners. And they stated that if and when you do make the mistake of getting together with men who has these type of personalities, you will regret it pretty much 99% of the time. In essence, if you're in a healthy romantic relationship with a guy, you should watch out and carefully see if he has any of these personality characteristics that I'm about to introduce. And don't worry, there's not a ton. There's only like 5. So yeah, let's get going with the 5 types of men that you should not date. Okay, so the first type of personality that men has who you do not want to date is men who think men and women are too different to understand each other. I think this is a pretty obvious characteristic. Men who have this kind of thinking towards men and women believes that men and women are vastly different beings, which isn't wrong in itself, but the problem rises when that guy uses that idea as an excuse to not try to understand women. So this results in these type of dudes only acting generous and considerate as a means to an end. Any acts of kindness stops being genuine. I think a lot of y'all ladies can remember a time when you dated this guy who was a fine gentleman during the beginning of the dating period, but then gradually became really controlling or manipulative or overall toxic. This is what I mean when the genuine love turns into a psychotic mindset that makes him think it's okay to use his girlfriend for his benefit. And his reason for this thinking is because of the assumption and labeling that women and men cannot understand each other. This is the type of men number one that you should never get together with. Next up, the second characteristic of a toxic man is men who connect women's every single behavior with attempts of seduction. These are the self-claimed chads you see at your fraternity or at the business office who literally have no chill when it comes to looking for a reason to get in bed. They're constantly waiting for a sign from a woman that she's attracted to him, which more often than not does not exist, and will assume there's an attraction when all she did was simply exist. And this just shows you that the dude lacks observation skills and is like really stupid overall and pretty much a goner. These are the type of guys who assume his partner is cheating or something because his partner was talking with another guy, which in reality, from a calm person's perspective, it was actually screaming platonic friendship and nothing more. And then this toxic personality fuses with a violent behavior, and there you have it. Another personality form of toxic men that you should spend absolutely no time with. Moving on to the third type. The third type of toxic male personality that you'll regret dating is guys that think male libido is uncontrollable. Honestly, these are the most dangerous type of men who will become toxic, and for obvious reasons. Being defiant against sexual violence by thinking that, oh, men are naturally hypersexual beings, so women should understand this and learn to live with it. If you hear your male companion say stuff like this, or if it's your boyfriend who says that, pack it up and get out of there. Because according to the study, he has a high chance of becoming a toxic friend or a partner, and you do not need people like him in your life. So again, the third type of men who you should run away from are men who think male libido is uncontrollable. And then the fourth type of men that you'll regret dating are men who think women are responsible for answering male desires. This is sort of similar with the third type. You know, the type of men who think they are the king of the household. These men actually tend to be small fry losers when left by himself, but the issue appears when you, in this case a woman, gets a favor from that man. Maybe like getting a small gift or getting a raise or something from that man. You do that and these men will immediately think that, oh, I did something nice for this girl, now she has to repay me. Something like this. These are the type of men who do nice things solely in order to get a sexual return, and they expect this. And yeah, dating or getting together with men like this is a no-brainer red flag. And last but not least, the fifth type of men who you do not want as a boyfriend or a husband or a friend in general. This was actually a surprising finding for me personally because this personality type is not directly correlated with romantic partnership at all. So this does not have to do anything with his ideals in a relationship. This characteristic is the assumption that the world is a dangerous place. Okay, so this is pretty complicated. So what I mean here is that men who think that the world is only a kill or be killed place. So you have to use other people and benefit from them in order to succeed. Basically, these are kind of the male company leaders you see on TV shows who believe that the world is a cruel place where the weak gets devoured by the strong. And this kind of thinking by itself, again, there's nothing wrong with it because it is very true that the world is an unforgiving place, and there's a clear social concept of the survival of the fittest. So in order to survive in this unforgiving world, you have to be strong and capable. This is partly true, and it's a normal way of thought. But this thinking becomes a problem when you conclude that because the world works under survival of the fittest, those who get trampled on, the weak, they deserve that fate. It's at this point where the mindset seeps into a dangerous territory when they think that it's only natural for the weak to be trampled on. So, it's okay for me, the strong, to use them for my benefit. You see what I'm getting at here? And additionally, this kind of thinking leads to, because women are weaker than men, it's only natural for men to use women for his benefit. So you can see that the mindset of the social power hierarchy is becoming a sexual power hierarchy. So yeah, those are the kind of men who, if and when you meet at like a business meeting or any other kind of social setting, and you hear them talk about stuff like this, things like the world is a cruel place, so you got to do whatever you can to succeed, use whoever you can to get on top. These people, men in particular, are not worth it for you to date and get together. And honestly, that it can't really be trusted as a business partner in general because their ways of thinking just adds on to this level as a toxic human being in general that might professionally betray you or cause harm to you in some other way, whether you're a man or a woman. So rather than hang out with people like this, you'll be much better off hanging out or getting together with people who say stuff like, yeah, the world is a cruel and unforgiving place, but it's also true that the world is filled with a lot of positive stuff. And you can still see some really good stuff in the human society where people do nice things to each other. Something like this. So the idea here is that the people who are realistically hopeful about the world, or those who are actively trying to make a positive change. And by the way, I'm not saying for you to go look for a person who hosts charity events and all, that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that. It can totally work with really small scale personal stuff that are positive. All that Boy Scout stuff. So yeah, for your final type of men who you should remove yourself from right away is men who think that the world is only a cruel and unforgiving place, and it's like a kill or be killed place. If you know someone, a friend, or if you're dating a guy that applies to any of these categories, I suggest you separate with that person or put some distance between you and him immediately. So that was it for 5 types of men that you do not want to surround yourself with. And if you have your eyes on a guy right now, make sure to carefully observe him and interact with him at a safe degree. And make sure he doesn't apply to any of these 5 categories. And I understand personalities are a very hard thing for people to dig out from one another. And there's obviously much more to figuring out other people's personality. So I've got you some other videos from my channel that you can watch next in order to learn more about how to use science and psychology to successfully figure out other people's personality and successfully maneuver in society. Today I recommend a video called The Quickest and the Easiest Way to Detect Toxic Women in Various Relationship. This is basically this exact video, but it tells you how to detect toxic women in various relationships instead of men. Something that I talk about in the video that you should know before watching it is that when you compare men and women in their skill of lying, women are much, much, much better at it than men. I talk about why this is true in the actual video, but for now, just keep that in mind. But just like men, women also leave some evidence when they aren't being authentic during an interaction. So if you want to know what kind of subtle hints or traces of evidence she leaves when she's talking to you or talking about you, then you should definitely watch that video, and the link to that video is in my description. So after I finish talking about everything here, go check that video out. Next up, I have for you my book recommendation of the day. Today, I recommend you go read In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People by George K. Simon. It's one thing to simply lie about yourself in order to pretend to be more important than you really are. But this act becomes truly dangerous when people lie in order to make you or some other person believe something and control your actions and thoughts. An excellent example of these people are cult leaders who manipulate people and turn them into an obedient and mindless soldier that'll do anything for their masters. Even at a lesser scale, there are many people in our social world that are familiar with these scary skills, and you might become a target. So, in order to protect yourself from these manipulators, I recommend yourself establish a what to do system in yourself in case you become a target. And that was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to Life Study Library so they can learn about more of these interesting and important science that might greatly help you in life. You've been listening to Life Study Library. I've been your host, Lye Yosh. I'll see you in my other videos. Bye now.